really prepared to greet a lot of people and make friends pretty much anywhere you go because they are very social and they are very curious when you are a foreigner. They want to know everything about you. So yeah. So in my experience, the Brazilian people are they are the best. Honestly, they're so nice. In Canada, people are nice too, but you're not gonna get greeted unless you're living in like the countryside where everybody knows each other, or sometimes like older people tend to say hi more often, but not something that usual compared to here where almost everybody says hi. Another very different thing is the food. So for example, here for breakfast, usually you will eat bread with like it's like kind of a cream cheese. It's called requeijo, and like fruits or something like that is very good. But here it's not that usual to eat like pastries like croissant, chocolatine. This is not usual here. You can find it, but it's not that usual. And when you go to the restaurant, most of the time they don't have jam, which is weird to me because I'm like, this is what we eat for breakfast. But here, no. And same, like they don't eat that much cereal either. So compared to Canada, we would usually eat like the cereals or like bread with jam. But yeah, here it's not usual, from my experience at least. So here, the dinner is the biggest meal. Usually we eat rice with beans and like a protein, so meat most of the time. So this is like the typical dinner that we've been eating here. Like you can find other things, but it's the typical thing to eat. As in Canada, dinner is more like, it's not that big of a meal, and for me, most of the time I would eat like a sandwich. But here it's not. It's harder to find sandwiches. You find them, but it's not that usual. And the supper here, they do not eat supper sometimes because they eat dinner really late. Or like the supper is something really little, like a piece of bread or like a fruit or like a really tiny thing, which is really unusual for me because as a Canadian, supper is normally the biggest meal that we have. And it's like the big heavy stuff. Their dinner is basically our supper normally. So yeah, this has been harder for me because when comes time for supper, I'm hungry. But I do eat it here. It's just that it's not usual from what I've seen. So usually here, people don't drink the water from the faucets directly. They have like a little machine you attach to your water that cleans it, and you're gonna get the water from this like little machine, but you don't drink it directly from the faucet. I know that Brazilian people that have lived here their entire life, they can drink it like no problem. But when you're a foreigner and you're used to a certain type of water, certain like quality of water, apparently it can upset your tummy. I haven't tried it because once I arrived in, I've been told that. I was like, I'm not gonna try it and find out for myself. I'm just gonna drink water from like the little machines. So yeah, that is something that it's not that big of an adjustment because the machine is just there, so you just use the machine. It's pretty simple. Another thing that is so funny to me and so particular is driving in Brazil. It's a different universe from driving in Canada. Just a couple of examples. Here in Brazil, when somebody honks you, it's most of the time not to be like, hey, what you doing? If you, as in Canada, only people that I've heard speaking really good English were like people in bigger cities working in like a hotel or like stuff like that. But in general, people are not really comfortable with English or don't know it at all. So you really have to know Portuguese. Like, this is kind of a must here. I'm gonna do a video on that next. Like, the things you have to know in Portuguese to like get by. This is something you for sure need to adapt to because it's harder to get by and communicate with people here. But when they see you try speaking Portuguese and all, they will do everything to understand you. Everything. They're gonna will like miming stuff at some point just to like they can get their point across and understand you. So this is really great. Another thing that is different and probably one of my favorite thing here is of course the nature, the wildlife, the plants. Like everything is very different from Canada. Of course this is like the most obvious thing, but I love it so much. For me, like normally in Canada, for example, birds, you know, most of our birds are like brownish, grayish, like black, white. We do have some colorful birds, but it's not the typical thing to see here. I've seen more colorful birds than like brownish birds, and I love it. It's like here every day I see toucans, parrots. I think that's the how to say it. Like so colorful. I haven't seen that much mammals. I've seen capybaras, which here is like the squirrel in the way that you see them everywhere, and it's like to my biggest pleasure because now it's like one of my favorite animals. They're so funny, they're so calm, they're so like paused. Like I don't know, I honestly I love them, and we see them like everywhere, even in the big cities, like on the side of rivers. This is the spot to look for. So yeah, I love it. As a biologist and like wildlife photographer and all, here it's like a paradise to me. The thing I find the most difficult here is the fact that things cost so much money. It's like unbelievable. So if something costs 4 reais, which is the Brazilian money, it's only gonna cost you like $1 Canadian. So when you're earning Canadian money, it's very interesting to come and visit Brazil because things are really cheap for you. But when you are Brazilian or you're earning Brazilian money, things are really expensive. Like for example, in the region I'm living in right now, the average monthly income is $1,800, but like a normal apartment is like $1,200, and gas here is like 5 reais per liter, and a car here is so expensive. In Canada, my first cars were like $2,000. You buy them used and all. Here, a used car, like you will not find anything under like 20,000, which is ridiculous because people don't have that much money, as you can see by like the average income. So yeah, another thing here that I love is the fact that here dogs are welcome in like shopping centers, some restaurants, like hotels, apartment. Like here it's really easy finding an apartment that permits dog. Almost all of them do, but in Canada this is something really difficult. I have 2 dogs and one of them is like a little bigger, and it's been really difficult in Canada finding an apartment that permits not only dogs but 2 dogs. But here it's like it's not even a question, it's just yeah, you can have them, no problem. So it's easier being a dog parent here because we can bring them like everywhere with us, almost everywhere. So this has been